And welcome into Missouri 8-man football. Devin Albertson here with Anthony Crane and Coach Dean here as well, as we are kind of looking back a little bit at week 2 and looking forward to this Friday night's games of week 3 in Missouri 8-man football. And before we start here, fellas, how we doing on this lovely Wednesday night?
Doing wonderful. I guess the people wanted more of me, so I'm a man of the people. Here I am.
I don't know
Well,
if that's what the people said. I don't. I didn't see that.
I mean, Coach Dean did edge us out in the picks this week. Anthony and I, because we just copied each other, both went 17-5. Which isn't bad. The losses were ugly there, and then Dean went 17-4. His losses were less ugly, and so he should really win by 2 or 3 votes there instead of just like half a game.
Mm-hmm.
We all got the Albany and Ollie Valley game wrong. We all thought that was gonna be a good game. It was not. Rather early. I know Anthony got to Burlington, and it was pretty much over at that point.
Honestly, I thought the scoreboard was wrong. Like it was. I never seen anything like it. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, my parents were there. Like, we told Anthony, we saw him look at the scoreboard with a real confused look. It's like, yeah, I was too when I saw the scores on Twitter. I was like, I don't know what's happening. My mom was texting me scores. I'm like, oh, I was wrong. Cool.
I know. And then the game I was at was fantastic.
Yeah, little EA South Senior Christian. That game got fireworks after you left when Christian made their comeback win.
Yeah.
So, what did you think whenever you were there for EA St. Joe Christian? What did you think of that game and kind of those teams you saw going head to head in Fairfax?
EA looks like EA. They look kind of like the team they've been the last few years. Christian looked healthier, and I think that helped. They have someone to hand the ball off to. Still not great, but I thought that it showed what they can be if they get healthy, get some guys back. I think we were somewhat not. I'm not gonna say high on them, but we thought they could be a decent team in year 2 under Schoonover.
And I kind of thought, going back and watching their Nottoway Valley game from week 1, they had so many turnovers early in possessions that really kind of stopped their game before it even happened there. And Nottoway Valley also looks really good right now. They've blown out Christian and Albany, both in kind of the same fashion where they turn people over early, get short fields. They have a lot of explosive athletes. Ty Hoyt's played great so far this year. And so Senior Christian getting that bounce back win. And based on what I've saw and heard,
he's got a little rider sample to him.
He does. Based on what I saw and heard from the Christian game versus EA, that option game in the second half really got after East Atchison, especially whenever Johnson went out with the ejection, which was weird. Seeing that video, he's the heart and soul of that defense. And when he goes out, there's just one less guy in the middle of that defense that can stop the option.
And would you like to hear a quote from the sideline?
Yes, always.
Why the hell are we worried about the inside when we have Tate Johnson?
That is an accurate statement. And Tate, coming from the Tarkio Fairfax area the last couple of years, there's not very many kids in the state who are in the weight room as much as him. We'd have baseball practice.
He's one of the best 8-man linebackers I've ever seen. He is just awesome.
Wow.
He's so fun. And he works hard. I mean, every day we'd have baseball practice from 3:30 to 5:30. He would leave the baseball field, and I would see his wagon over at the TAC at the fitness center getting a workout in. After that, we'd have baseball games. We'd be done. The JV be playing. He's like, Coach, can I go leave to go lift? Like, no, Tate, finish this out, and then you can go lift. Just a great kid who loves to lift. He was a kind of a pudgier kid when he was a junior high going into high school, and he's really worked at it, and he's made the best athlete possible of himself on there. So great kid as well. So I'll speak glowingly to Tate Johnson. He's one of my favorites over there in the EA area. So it was kind of sad to see when they lost that lead late in that game, and Christian kind of came back and beat him. But it's a big win for Christian. And now EA has to look forward this week to Rockport on there. The game I was at was a pretty fun game. Norbert Harden Central, Wellington, Napoleon. Norbert kind of jumped on him early, got a little bit of a lead, and just kind of kept him at bay the rest of the way. But they couldn't pull away from him. It was one of those deals where both teams started to loosen things up offensively and kind of get some explosive plays. And it was kind of a back and forth of answering each way. I thought Brody Pfeiffer at quarterback for Norbert Harden Central, he's not an overly big kid. He's pretty undersized, but he's very slippery and he's very just football savvy is how I kind of describe him. He does a good job of finding open areas and finding the gaps to run the ball in. He also throws a decent ball too. He's getting his footwork figured out there with the staff there at Norbert Harden Central. So I'm excited to see what he does going forward. And then Wellington's quarterback
You just want
Hampton.
to talk about your coach. You just want to talk about
Hey,
McGruder.
he's not the
don't you?
offensive coordinator, so I'm not going to talk about him. I'm not going to say his name on this podcast. That's all Coach Watson. They're calling the offense, why they're so good on offense this year.
He's the brain trust.
Poor Coach Watson, just not getting any credit.
Well, he's getting all the credit now. Unless the offense goes poorly, then it goes to Orrin on there. That's the deal we've made with Coach Watson. And on the other side, Hampton for Wellington Napoleon, that kid is a pure pocket passer. You can tell he's very confident with his throws and where he's going with the ball. And he was a lot of fun kind of keeping them in that game and trying to go shot for shot for the Aggies in the second half.
What an exciting game. Kind of a showcase for both teams there. People are pretty high on both those squads coming into the year. And Norborn's quarterback, Pfeiffer, in the running for best player of the state.
He's really good. I mean, he is very. I really enjoy watching him play, and also he does a good job in the return game too. He had a couple of long returns that.
Did Ganon Bowen quit playing football?
Gannon's really good, and Gannon has probably 30 pounds on him too. With that, I'll get to Ganon Bowen.
You mean his 1,000 yards he rushed for last week?
he was nuts last week, and I tweeted this out whenever I was watching this weekend. Because let's see what happened in that Sweet Springs North Shelby game. Well, first of all, yellow flags every other play. It was a mess of flags on there, and some were good calls, some were I'm not sure where the hold was on there. It just wasn't a very clean game on there, very choppy, and I feel like that hurt North Shelby more than it hurt Sweet Springs on there. Until it got to the third quarter when North Shelby ran, I think 5 plays. They fumbled their first play of the quarter, gave it back to Sweet Springs on a short field, and then it went Bowen 60-yard touchdown, Bowen 68-yard touchdown, Bowen 60-yard touchdown. I think Bowen for like 25 yards in the quarter ran out, and Sweet Springs had the ball the rest of the quarter. It was a 20-20 quarter, and Bowen touched the ball 4 times for like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was nuts. I'm like, okay, well, see, North Shelby one play, and there goes 13, either up the middle or down the sideline. He was gone. So really impressive performance by him against Sweet Springs, and they needed it too because they really couldn't stop Sweet Springs second half. I'm a little worried about North Shelby's defense. They just have less dudes on that side they had last year at graduation on there. I think they'll get things figured out, but it's something to kind of keep an eye on with them. If they have to get in shootouts every week, that's a tough place to live, as we kind of saw with our other big game last week, Appleton City and Archie. Appleton City's defense also leaking quite a bit of oil there versus Archie. And you saw McIntyre kind of go back to his ways. I think he ran for over 200 yards and a few touchdowns in that win. What was your guys' thoughts whenever you saw the Appleton Archie score?
Real quick, shout out to Sweet Springs. Really young squad last year, and Coach Holtzman over there was really looking forward to this year, having some more experience, having played a lot of young guys last year. And, that was kind of marquee for them, is to play some tough, tight games in the past. So it's a little bit of a return to form for Sweet Springs over there. So it'll be interesting to see what they got going forward.
And the Hampton kid at quarterback is a lot of fun to watch. That kid's a baller there. I think I can't remember if he's a junior or senior at this point, but he's been a really fun player for them. And you can tell he has success with their offense there a little bit. I'm looking here. Hampton is a junior, so they'll have him for another year next year as well. So one of the better underclassmen. Pfeiffer for Norbert Harden Central, also a junior. So a couple of really good young quarterbacks over there in the central part of the state as we go. But kind of going to Archie Appleton.
We don't need to talk about it.
I mean, I turned on the first play of the game, and I see Cash Anderson go for like a 60-yard touchdown. I'm like, okay, here we go, Appleton. And then they just couldn't keep that going offensively. Had a couple of turnovers and just a couple of possessions that kind of came up empty. And I thought Archie did a much better job versus Appleton compared to Lockwood in sealing the edge on the offense and getting to the corner. And then Leaper can do his thing when he gets to the edge there a little bit more. He definitely had a lot more running room and was able to get that edge and then make guys miss in the open field a lot easier than he was versus Lockwood on there. I'm not sure if that's just Archie making the right adjustments or if Appleton just isn't quite there defensively like we saw with Lockwood week 1 on there. So really, I was really impressed with Archie and the way they responded and bounced back, and some of the younger kids played much better in week 2. I think they grew up a lot in that week and kind of got a realization like, hey, these are the things that we need to do to be back to where we need to be for Archie on there. So I was really impressed with Archie coming back. And as Anthony said with Appleton going into last week, kind of a game they had to win to get that monkey off their back when Archie was down a little bit, and they just
they're cooked.
Close. Just couldn't.
They're cooked.
I'm not going that far.
A great 7-2 season, yeah. Maybe get a district win, finish 8-3.
Yeah, they're going to be. They got Lockwood week 8.
You know
Other
what?
than
Maybe
that,
this
they
is what
should
they
be
need.
favored.
I support them.
Yep.
And look what happened. So now I turned my back.
2 of us picked Appleton City last week. Coach Dean did take Archie, and he was proved right in that situation. One of the ones that was rather wrong for me and Anthony last week with that. But again, I credit Archie a lot to the way they played on there. And also, a kid I want to shout out for Archie, just watching the film there, Peyton Himes, undersized linebacker there for Archie, played really well. He made a couple of plays, I think, into the third quarter, into the fourth, like 4 or 5 snaps in a row. He was knifing through the line and getting either Anderson or the James kid who plays running back for Appleton too in the backfield for some big losses there as well. That really surprised me because he's an undersized kid, but he reads things well and he's able to knife in the backfield. Made some really nice plays. I think he forced a fumble on one of the snaps and kind of got the ball back for Archie there. So he was a real game changer on defense for them. I thought they lacked a little bit versus Lockwood. He came back and played a really nice game versus Appleton City. So I wanted to give that kid a shout out for the way he played in that bounce back win over Appleton.
Well, Appleton's starting a sophomore at quarterback, really first game experience, and that's quite a large game to step into. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with that experience, and maybe they'll meet again later, and he'll have that game under his belt and kind of be a little more ready for that occasion.
And he did throw a good ball too. I thought their passing attack was better.
His offensive play has nothing to do with him giving up 70 points.
Yeah, defensively was rough. Try to see.
It's not the offense that's the problem.
Yeah, because it looks like Leaper, 20 carries for 150 and 5 touchdowns. And then sophomore Bryant, Weston Bryant, I believe, had 15 for 109 and a touchdown as well. It's kind of that second guy in the running attack they were missing last week versus Lockwood. Definitely stepped up this week. And then in the receiving game, Jackson Cash, 5 catches for 94 yards and 3 touchdowns. They got burnt through the air, and they couldn't contain the edge. That's 2 things you got to do a little bit on there. They struggled in both cases. They're on defense last Friday for Appleton City.
Is Jackson Cash an all-time football name?
It's a good name. I enjoy Jackson Cash. It's a lot easier to say that than other names that we have across the state. I appreciate the kids who have the easy names being really good at football. Ganon Bowen, Jacob Coffey, Jackson Cash, Briar McIntyre. Like all these names, thank you. I appreciate. Then we have the names I have to figure out over 3 years and finally get Nephi
You say
Hahn
Briar
right.
McIntyre, but then you have to figure out how to spell it.
That is true. But when I'm talking in the game, I don't worry about the spelling on there. But it takes me 3 years, but I finally get Nephi Hahn. Yeah, Nephi Hahn, correct. See, I got to say Wi-Fi in my head every time before I say Nephi. But I finally got his name down. I got Gage from Pattonsburg's name right, finally, and then I forgot how to say it again. Is it Iddings or Iddings? Iddings. I always want to say Iddings. It's Iddings. See, again, a couple of kids, I just struggle with their names. My brain short circuits. Other games that happened last week that are worthy of note: Rockport and Worth County both rolled in their games. King City rolled over to Cab. LeBlond took care of Schuyler. Jasper got a nice win over Rich Hill that Coach Dean called that one. We both took the Tigers and were proved incorrect in there. They made a change, I believe, at quarterback. Jasper did. And I thought the other kid came in and played really well. Colt Clements, I believe, kind of came in. They had Lehman playing quarterback. They kind of moved Lehman back to running back, where I think he's a little more comfortable. And I think it helped both of them kind of get going on offense a little bit for Jasper. So I like that little adjustment they made for their offense to put the Clements kid, who I think is younger, just a sophomore at quarterback. And I think it frees up Lehman to be able to run a little bit better for them in the backfield. So I like that adjustment that they made last week. Liberal just wants to play in 2-point games all year, losing to Drexel by 2 week 1, and then surviving Greenfield by 2. And that's really what it was. Again, another game that had a lot of holding calls and a lot of penalties. Wasn't a very clean game for either team on there. But Greenfield had a chance in the final part of the game. They completed a big pass, and I guess they ran out of timeouts, and all of a sudden the game was just over. It was the weirdest ending I've seen on film. It's like they completed a big pass, and then all of a sudden just over. Like they got tackled like the 10-yard line, and you can't see the clock on film. So all of a sudden, there's teams just lining up. Like, whoa, this game's over. You had no idea the game was about to end. It was just like all of a sudden, like, okay, done. But that was a lot of fun to kind of go back and watch that low-scoring game, but fun.
When you're Coach Zuha and you wear capris, you live on the edge.
He didn't wear the red ones, and I was so disappointed when I turned that film on and I saw the black, and I'm like, when
He's
she posted
doing
something
it
to Twitter,
despite us.
he did it on Twitter. He posted a video of the team celebrating there afterwards for Liberal, and I was automatically disappointed that he wore the black capris instead of the red ones. Like it was red, wet and rainy. I didn't want to wear the red ones and come see through. I'm like, I don't want to see that. So that's fair. We're just gonna talk about Coach Zuha's fashion choices every week on this show.
That's not what you were talking about. So,
but nice win there for Liberal to get back on the winning ways. Lincoln made their 8-man debut in 2025. Beat Bramer 64-34. They were up 38-0 after the first quarter, and honestly, going back and watching that film, it looked a lot like the Concordia Bramer film, where they were explosive in the open field and taking care of business. So I have tentative hopes for Lincoln going forward on here because you can see the athletes, you can see the explosiveness. What I want to see, especially, they have a bye this week because they couldn't find a team to fit their schedule with a late drop down to 8-man. So bye this week, regroup, and then they got week 4 home versus Concordia on there. I want to see how their lines kind of hold up versus a team that's very physical and very active on the line of scrimmage compared to Bramer, who's down a little bit this year, especially on the fronts. On there, I want to see how they handle kind of getting pushed back and fought back on the lines a little bit more than what they saw versus Bramer. So that's where I'm at with Lincoln. I do like the pieces that are there. The one thing with Lincoln you got to remember, though, they do have a pretty tough schedule. For the last minute additions on here, they got Concordia, then at Norbert Harden Central, New Heights at home, then versus Paris, at Knox, and at LeBlond. There's plenty of games there to test them as they go into districts, and they have Appleton and Archie in their district down south. So they're a team that when they do play the districts, there's going to be very little in common film. Like the New Heights is about the only film they're going to have in common. I guess LeBlond and Archie, they'll play each other, but there won't be a whole lot of common film to kind of compare guys to on there as the coaches get ready for the playoffs. So it's a team that I'm just keeping an eye as a wild card possibly down there in District 2.
Mm-hmm.
And who was the Dawson Parrott? 6 carries for 100 yards and 4 touchdowns and 3 catches for 93 yards and 3 scores. Not bad. 9 touches, scoring 6 touchdowns. 7 touchdowns. Sorry. So that'll do. That'll play.
Welcome to 8-man.
Welcome to 8-man. Riley Sanders is their quarterback too. He completed 8 of 14 for 111 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also ran for $130 and a touchdown. So a couple of guys that definitely showed up on film and definitely looked the part for Lincoln. Pattonsburg went to Mound City and won by 28, a game that Anthony and I also got wrong on there. We went with the ground and pound team, and the high-flying Panthers were able to get them there. And kind of a fun game to watch back and forth on film on there, to watch those teams kind of go. They put the Mace kid at running back more for Pattonsburg. I've seen Pattonsburg hand the ball off more than ever since the pre-Cavan and that era where they refused to hand the ball off to anybody.
You know there was a time when they were only allowed 29 points per game?
Really?
Yeah. 2019?
2019? Yeah, they had some dudes on defense still. So, yeah, they're only allowing 33 points per game right now through 2 weeks. So, yeah, but that Mays at running back, he's got 172 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground this year on 18 carries. That's quite a bit for a non-quarterback for Pattonsburg on there, averaging almost 10 yards a carry, and he looked good there. Mound City was playing a lot of deep coverage after they saw the Platte Valley game, and Pattonsburg just going bombs away over the top. You saw a lot of like cover 3 with their third safety in the middle of the field being 20, 25 yards deep because they're like, we're not getting beat over the top. And so Pattonsburg was much more disciplined and being able to work their way down the field. And I was impressed to see that discipline for them instead of, I know sometimes you're a passing team, you want to take that big shot. You want to take that deep pass play. They did a good job of just working it down the field. I think they caused a couple of turnovers for Mound City and was able to get the win there on the road. It's a really quality 2-0 start for Pattonsburg. I know in our media poll chat, they've kind of got a little bit of buzz for top 10. I think we want to kind of see them do a little bit more going forward. They do have North Andrew this week, Princeton, Stanberry. So there's a chance they could start 5-0 before they get into the King City, St. Joe Christian, Worth County, Albany. So there's a chance for them to rack up some wins after a 1-9 year last year and maybe knock on the door or maybe get some votes in that media poll in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, because it's kind of a rotating door right now, at least for me. I like
Yeah.
that 10 spot because I dropped North Andrew, added Albany, and then, well,
Did not go well.
it did not go well.
Yeah, and I was actually the one vote for Lincoln in the top 10 this past week on there. I put him in my 10 spot. It was either them. I thought about King City. I knew King City was already getting love with other polls on there. I didn't. And if I would have put King City in my 10 spot, it would have bumped Norbert Harden Central down to 10. And I didn't think after beating Wellington, they should deserve to drop a spot in the poll on there. Just some people put King City in after the Albany loss, just kind of replace them with it. So I'm like, you know what? They can tie for the 9 spot. I want to give a little bit of love to another team that's not getting any love anywhere else. Lincoln. I thought hard about Knox County and Paris on there. And I want to see if Hughesville upsets Concordia, they have a chance to get in the poll as well. So there's a lot of teams that are in that top 16 range that aren't quite getting recognition in the top 10 poll because the top 10 is kind of pretty. The top 9 teams are kind of set to where they are in that 10th spot. For me and Anthony are both kind of rotation of teams.
Crane, is Devin buying Lincoln fans right now?
I don't think so.
Welcome to 8-Man.
Here's a top 10 vote.
If you guys get me a hat, I will appreciate that. I do collect 8-Man hats. You guys can see I'm wearing the Nolly Valley Thunder hat after they proved me very wrong last week. Other games there, Osceola beat New Heights 65-22. Santa Fe got their first win of the year, beating Northland Christian 30-22. Hughesville took care of St. Paul Lutheran. Paris beat Oric. Platte Valley beat Stanberry. And then North Andrew, followed by Levi McAfee with his 7 rushing touchdowns, take down Stewartsville Osborne 56-18.
36 carries.
Yeah, a lot of carries. I just got that box score, and I was like, whoa. Like, let him run versus somebody else. He had 36 carries for 267 yards and 7 touchdowns. After week 1 versus EA going for 18 carries for 43 yards and no touchdowns. A little different defenses playing against East Ashton and Stewartsville.
I'm curious what happened. Because the offenses aren't that dissimilar between North Andrew and Christian. So I'm curious what happened with EA from week 1 to week 2. Or
I
maybe
think
Christian just has been running. I don't know.
I think Christian is a little bit more of attacking the edges with their option instead of the midline gain. Because as we talked about earlier with EA, if you run a midline and there's 50 in the middle, he's going to eat that up more times than not compared to getting to the edge a little harder sometimes to contain that. So I just heard they struggled with the option. I didn't wasn't able to go back and watch that game, but I saw bits and pieces on there. So let's go into
real quick.
Yes.
Shout out to Nod Valley, proving us wrong. All right, they took the bulletin board material to heart. So good job, Nod.
Yeah, they were. My mom's a parrot, Nottoway Holt, on there, and the boys were like, "Why does your son hate us?" I'm like, "I don't hate you guys. I picked Albany to win a close game. Sue me, all right? I'm sorry, guys. Good grief."
As a guy that constantly looked for bulletin board material,
100%. And that's why I told her, I'm like, tell the boys to
give
prove
it
me
out.
wrong. It's fine. Like, prove me wrong, and then it's fine. I won't. It's whatever. I've been wrong many times before. There was a time I left the eventual state champions out of my top 10, and they still won't let me forget about it. Shout out Wes Hughes, Southwest Livingston. So let's go through those games. This game's
he's Bramer now.
Yeah, he's a Bramer now. That's Bramer / Southwest Livingston. It's a co-op now. Games this week. We can go through some of these pretty fast on here. Rockport, East Atchison. I hate to say it because I was at Target for 2 years, but it's probably going to be Rockport in this one.
Probably.
I have enjoyed the J.R. Cheney mayor of Rockport versus Agnew, the Tarkio mayor, going back and forth with the AI photos of each other in both blue and orange. On there, I've enjoyed the back and forth of the AI photos in Atchison County for this week. It's been a lot of fun. It's been lighthearted. They're having fun with the rivalry between the two communities on there, so it's been a lot of fun to kind of see that from a distance on here. But Rockport should be pretty heavy favorites in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Lockwood, Jasper.
Lockwood.
Yep, Lockwood.
Yeah. Mm.
Different animal there. Archie is hosting Rich Hill.
Lockwood may not lose again.
Lockwood's next biggest game is probably Week 8 versus Appleton. So Lockwood's probably going to finish 9-0. It'd be my guess.
They may not lose again.
Yep.
Until.
And then after that, it's not going to be until the quarterfinals.
Will they get Concordia? Something like that in the semifinals?
Let's see.
Or no. They would get Worth County or Rockport, wouldn't they?
They would get Worth County. It's Lockwood versus the Archie Appleton Lincoln District, and then it's Worth County in the semifinals.
I don't love that matchup for Worth County.
North Shelby, Knox, Paris out of the District 8. So that's kind of the quadrant up there. The half the state is that section.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So we're both taking. I'm guessing we're all three taking Worth County over Princeton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Princeton just really struggling here versus Mount St. Rockport to start the year. Don't think it's going to get much easier versus Worth County here in Week 3. Home game for the Tigers of Princeton. Northwest Hughesville at Concordia. This was almost our game of the week on Facebook Live. I think it's an underrated matchup. I do like the Hughesville athletes on here. I just think Concordia has had a little bit too much for them. I think Concordia gets this game at home, but wouldn't be surprised you look up after a quarter or so like, hey, Hughesville's sticking around, making this game, make it a really competitive football game, and we'll see what Hughesville. This is kind of their chance to make a statement if they want to be making some noise later in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Concordia, you got to watch Hughesville because they will sneak up on you. Like you said, stick in the game. So you want to play a cleaner game and not give them a route to come back.
What do you think, Anthony?
I think Concordia gets this one. I think I really like what they've done down there and the way they're growing. And
they got an edge to them. They're confident down there. They got a little edge to them and a little swagger going on there. And there was a play they shared on Twitter, and Coach Tyler had messaged me after the game was over. He's like, we might have had the play of the week on this. So Maddox Inman got an interception, probably his own 20, 25-yard line, returned it to about midfield, was surrounded by Slater defenders, and he just pitched it back like 10 yards to Lane Haas, and then he reversed fields completely and outran everybody for a touchdown. It was a really cool play. I think we shared it on social media as well and put that play out there. So a really nice play there for Concordia that I was really impressed with. Again, Inman, Haas, Hahn, so a lot of good athletes there for Concordia. And Drogi is actually their other starting running back, does a really good job as well with them. So they've been really impressive. And Dane Wilkins, Hunter's brother, is playing defensive end for him. He's had a really nice start this year as well. Comes off that edge pretty fast, a defensive end, especially against pass-heavy teams. On here, Nottoway Valley hosting Stewartsville Osborne.
Ooh, buddy.
I'm going with
I'm rooting for Stewartsville to get better. Won't be this week.
They're not going to get bulletin board material out of me this week.
So we're all taking Nottoway Valley, I think. But I just want to do this bit just to mess with one of the kids there at Nottoway Valley because he was one that told my mom that I was dumping it. I just don't trust Cooper Morrow for Nottoway Valley. I think I got to take Stewartsville this week. I'm kidding, Cooper. It's fine. Cooper's a good kid. My parents grew up with his parents on there. But I like to give Cooper a hard time because if you don't, he'll kind of walk all over you. So shout out Cooper Morrow for making sure my mom knew I made the wrong choice for picking them against losing against Albany. North Shelby at St. Paul Lutheran.
Raiders.
It's going to be tough to slow down Ganon.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think St. Paul's going to get their 20 to 30 points on there in this game, but they might give up 70 or 80 to North Shelby on there. I think Bowen has a nice game. I think they get Browning going again too, that second running back, and kind of get him like they did versus LeBlond, and kind of get him back up to speed a little bit in this game as well.
Well, you need to. Like, I know he's a young man, but in certain games like this, if you can give other people some carries and let them get beat on, you can do that.
You could tell he was getting a little worn down on defense. He's like, I've ran a lot in that third quarter. You could tell he was like, someone else, please help me out a little bit here. Like, you could tell that, again, not his fault, not saying his effort or anything. You could just tell it's a lot to carry that much in the offense and then still be that dude at middle linebacker on defense. It's a lot to carry on there. That's probably the worst I've seen him play defensively, but one of the best offensive games I've seen him play. So, again, he did not play bad whatsoever. It takes a lot out of you to do that much. He ran for almost 400 yards on offense. Again, you're not going to be perfect on defense there when you're doing that much on offense. Again, Appleton City at Drexel. So Coach Dean does not have to make a pick here if he does not want to on the here. But Anthony, what do you think here? Anthony, are you all the way out in Appleton? You taking Drexel in this one?
No, not crazy. Simmer down.
I'll take Appleton.
I don't have to like Drexel anymore.
I don't have to like Drexel. With that, I'll take Appleton City over Drexel. Now, Albany at King City, a game that we thought 8, 9, 10 days ago was going to be a really fun football game. Lost a lot of his luster after Albany went to Burlington and didn't do well on here. What do you guys think of this Albany-King City game?
I'm going to go with King City. I think they're just too explosive and fast. It's going to be tough for Albany to keep that contained for 4 quarters.
I don't know. I don't know what happened in Albany. To be honest, the official told me it was turnovers. So if they take care of the ball, maybe it's better. Because I still don't love King City's defense either.
And we're looking at King City. They've played Stewartsville and DeKalb to start the year. They haven't had a challenge yet. This is their first true test of the year. So maybe us penciling in King City is a little bit premature as well because they really haven't proven it this year after going 5-6 last year. Beat usually the bottom of the 275 to start this year. It's not the best schedule on there. I think they win this game. If they do win this game, King City might go 8-1 or 7-2 this year. And we probably won't even know much about them until they play Worth County in Week 9. So they might be a team that's going to rack up a bunch of wins here as well. I think the GRC overall is a bit down outside of Worth County, and they might be able to feast off that a little bit because they do have Carlson at quarterback with Sample.
You called the GRC bad?
Sit down.
Howard.
I mean, last year was the first year ever the 275 in GRC schools didn't have anybody in the Final Four. So maybe there's a bit of a changing of the guard in an 8-man around the state. I will also take King City, though, here over Albany. I just think they have, as Coach Dean said, between Sample, Metzger, and they had another guy who had a pretty nice game on there running the ball last week, Lucas Boone on there. I think they have enough athletes on the outside to kind of still have enough over Mercer and Albany. But I think Albany will play much better this week. It should be a closer game, especially than last week was. Again, take care of the football a little bit, and instead of losing 84-6, it's maybe 60-20 on there. You still lose by a good margin, but you're not. It's not as eye-popping of a score. It looks more like Appleton Archie than it does other games around the state. On here, so we're both.
It should be closer.
Yes.
I mean, I think. I don't want to think. I mean, I can't imagine that the Albany we'll see the rest of the year.
No, I think King City by 2 scores is probably where I'm at with that. Anywhere from 12 to 16 points is kind of what I'm looking at. It's probably my prediction, in honesty, with King City, just because I haven't seen them do.
If they turn around and won too, I wouldn't be shocked either.
Exactly, yeah, absolutely. It's a 2-score either direction. I think swing, which is very common at 8-man. Always swing toward King City on this. Norbert Harden Central goes to Santa Fe. I will take the Aggies.
Yeah, I think pretty easy one for the Aggies.
Aggies, yep.
We will come back to LeBlond Wellington to play. I want to end the podcast with that. I want to make Coach Davis listen to this as long as possible.
Well, now.
No, I want to make him listen to this as long as possible on here. Northland Christian at Cornerstone, Kansas. I took Northland just because I hate the state of Kansas.
Yeah,
so.
Go Mizzou.
gain some ground. I'm about to go opposite of you here.
Okay, you're going to take.
I don't feel great about it, but we got to disagree at some point.
If we do have to disagree at some point, I will say Northland, I believe, beat this team last year. So let me see if I can find that score. Yeah, they beat them 42-16 last year. So I will take Northland Christian over Cornerstone. But it looks like Dean, you're taking Northland.
Northland.
There we go. Mizzou, baby.
Mizzou.
Take that, Kansas. Terrible state. I was so happy. I was really mad for a quarter because I thought Mizzou was outplaying them and was down 21-6. I was so mad. But they turned around, outgained them by 3 times.
Then when turn around and sign a 5-star in basketball.
Let's go.
Not a bad week.
Not a bad day to be a Tiger. Next one, New Heights and Greenfield on here down south.
I'm gonna go Greenfield.
Yep.
I will also
play better.
I will also
it's
Greenfield.
It's rough down there in Joplin right now.
Also, one second before we go off the Mizzou thing too much, fantasy football back in my Tarkio league. One of the guys is a big Mizzou fan,
Oh, boy.
and his team name is I have a Hardy boner, spelled Bauner, and I thought that was great.
So you're talking about penises again?
Nope, its name is Bo. With that, so yeah, we're all taking Greenfield over New Heights. Schuyler County at Knox County.
Again, I think Knox has been playing better.
I like Knox a lot this year.
Yeah.
I think they're doing a good job with Coach Van Noy over there and the stuff they run. And Cooper Clare, really fun to watch run the ball. I will say, has one of the funkiest throwing motions I've seen of a good player on there. He's not this player, but it reminds me a lot of Coffee for Drexel when you guys decide to throw the ball. It's like, that's a really funky throwing motion, but it's super effective and it makes zero sense and it's fantastic. He had, I think, 3 throws versus St. Paul Lutheran week 1 where he was like rolling and then all of a sudden the ball was out of his hands. I couldn't that was a weird throwing motion, but the dude's wide open downfield and he's kept running it in for a touchdown. I'm like, you know what? It doesn't look great, but it's super effective and that's all that matters. So just kind of a fun kid to watch and a fun offense to watch there in Knox County.
I think Knox is feeling themselves a little bit this year.
Yeah, they're a team that I think wants to knock on that door to get ranked on there. And I think they're right on the cusp of it. Just one of those deals where they got Schuyler this week. Next week at LeBlond's a good litmus test for them. KC Christian after that. And then they got the Paris, North Shelby, Lincoln trio there at the start of October, which would be a big stretch for them to kind of prove. And at that point, as I tell people, you keep winning, you will eventually get your way into the poll. Like the more you win, the more respect you get across the state when you win big games versus good opponents on there. So I think we all 3 have Knox. Osceola at Liberal.
Osceola is, they don't got a lot of guys, but they've been playing tough. They got a stud at running back in Bloom.
He's so big.
He's so big, which I could see that giving Liberal some problems.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to go with Team Caprice. And he's going to bust out the red ones this week for good luck. And
there we go. Be better.
Well, shouldn't it be the black ones since they won?
You're playing yeah. Wear the red.
Wear the red. Wear the red.
Do it, Zuha. Do it. You're playing Osceola. They're going to wear black, so you got to wear opposite. You got to wear red to stand out.
There you go.
What are you taking, Anthony? You got Liberal or Osceola?
You know me. That's when I love more than the Liberal.
Yep. So I will also go Liberal over Osceola. In this one,
I knew you would, you little snowflake.
Southhold at Mound City.
This one hurts me, but I'm about to go with the Panthers. I'm just not sure what to think of South Holt right now. Although I can say the same thing about Mound City.
Mm-hmm. They're looking at South Holt. They've beaten Stanberry, lost to Worth County. Mound City beat Platte Valley, lost to Pattonsburg.
South Holt's well rested.
You're the worst. With that, I hate it too, but I'm going with Mound City.
Like that 3. I think Mound City found themselves in a stylistic match they didn't really love last week, but I look for them to return on this one.
Keatsville at Oric. I will take the Bearcats in this one.
Bearcats.
That's 3 for 3 for Oric. Bramer, trying to get their first win of the year. They're going to undefeated Paris, who's kind of rolled through both their opponents to start the year, beating on Keatsville and Oric the first 2 weeks. Coach Carney has the Coyotes playing pretty well right now. I'll take Paris in this one over Bramer.
Last year, Paris played Bramer really tough when Bramer had all their dudes. So look for Paris to win this one.
Yeah, the score last year was 63-38, and it felt a lot closer to that. Kind of Bramer kind of pulled away late in that one. I remember that now. It was a really good football game between those two. Anthony, you taking Bramer?
No.
Okay. North Andrew at Pattonsburg.
This is a tough one too. But I think Pattonsburg's playing well right now. I think I'm about to go with them. I think this is a good game. I've considered this week between going over to Kansas or making that GRC loop of King City, Albany, and then over there. So, but I think this should be one of the better games this week. I know with different styles, but
Yeah. One of those games where you still have to
if
like,
Pattonsburg
okay, what
again
are we
plays
doing
better,
here?
yeah, if they play good defense again, then we're talking. That's a pretty good team then. And then we were talking about them being in the top 10. Well, you're 3-0, and that's another decent win.
And you're winning 3 games against teams that are physical, hard-nosed football teams, and you're overcoming that as a kind of a pass-happy, looked at as finesse football team. If you can beat Platte Valley, Mountain City, North Andrew, who all just want to run the stun out of the football, and you're able to kind of limit their running games and still keep your team explosive on offense, scoring 50-plus points a game, it's hard to ignore that at that point for Pattonsburg. I will also take Pattonsburg in this one just because I love the passing attack with that. So I'm taking the edge. Last week I gave it the ground attack in Mountain City. Didn't feel great about it, so I'm going to go to Pattonsburg this time.
Give me Pattonsburg.
And they switched their quarterback like right before the year started.
Yeah, and Fortner's played well at quarterback because they be able to put Mays at they put Griffith at a receiver, and he's played really well out there and kind of give him another option outside of Mays out there that made their offense a little more dynamic, I think, on there. So I think it's been a good move for them because, again, Camden did not play bad at quarterback last year at all for Pattonsburg. They lost a lot of close games, but I think this kind of sets them up to be a little more diverse on offense, where it's not just, hey, we're looking for Will Mays every play. So I think it helps them out a little bit there on offense. DeKalb at Platte Valley.
I think what Platte Valley will do to that small team will be borderline illegal.
Talk about mismatch of sizes. It might take 4 DeKalb Tigers to get to the size of Andy Matson.
Yeah.
The kid's bigger than I am, and I'm not a small person. On there. So, yeah, I think we're all probably going to take Platte Valley in this one over DeKalb. Last 2 games here. Sweet Springs at Slater.
Sweet Springs.
Yeah.
Like what they brought last week. I like the resiliency they had there, and really they didn't play bad week 1 versus Norbert Harden Central either after losing by just, 14, 22 points, somewhere in there, low 20s. On there, I thought they played well versus North Shelby as well, so they're going to be a team that's going to stick around and be a tough out all year, especially with their style of play. With, as Coach Dean said, Coach Holtzman's a good coach. He's going to raise their floor quite a bit on there, so I think they have a chance to make some noise here late in the year, and it's going to start with a win over Slater, who's really struggled to start this year out there as we go. And then finally, last one, back to the GRC, St. Joe Christian at Stanberry.
Yeah, I think Christian continues to play well. That gives the team that they're, again, stylistically, they should have success against a smaller Stanberry team.
I'll take St. Joe Christian as well.
I'm going to go Christian. I want to go Stanberry. I'm going to go Christian, though.
Okay, now we made Chuck Davis wait almost 45 minutes for this on here. I know he's been wanting to hear our picks here. Wellington Napoleon hosting Bishop LeBlond. It's our 8-man Facebook Live game of the week over at Wellington. I'll be at this one on here. Anthony already said his pick earlier, but he'll just repeat it here for us real quick.
Yeah, I need to. Wellnap's been playing well, and again, I just need to see LeBlond be a good team. I know, I guess you could say that Wellington, but I don't know what it is about LeBlond that I
It's the coach. You hate the coach.
No, and I love it. I love LeBlond. Don't get me twisted.
I'm trying to get you in trouble.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be a great game, and LeBlond could easily win. I think too. So,
what do you think, Coach Dean?
How healthy is LeBlond right now? We feel good about their health.
I haven't heard anything as kids being out or anything like that, so I think they're pretty healthy. I think they came away from that Skyler game pretty healthy. On there, I'd say on film, Skyler has a lot of size, but LeBlond's speed definitely gave them some issues in that game. So I think LeBlond came out pretty healthy.
I think Pfeiffer gave Wellnap just a little bit of a problem there. So I'm going to buy into LeBlond's explosiveness and their athletes here. Wellnap definitely has some athletes of their own, but I'm going to go LeBlond.
So I went back and forth on this on here, and looking at both these teams offensively, I think they're kind of carbon copies of each other offensively. You have kind of a back that likes the bruise a little bit. I can't remember who LeBlond's running back is now, leading them in carries this year. It is Chase Kissel, 150 yards on 22 carries, 2 touchdowns, about 7 yards a carry. He's played pretty well this year. Holder for Wellington, 21 carries, 193 yards, and 4 touchdowns, about 9 yards a carry. Both guys that run out of the shotgun a little bit more, both run downhill on there. There's not a whole lot of extra wiggle they want there. We want to run through someone's face on there is kind of their running styles, and I can appreciate that for both them. They both have receivers on the outside for Wellington. It was Brody Best week 1. It was Tatum Kolkmeyer week 2. We haven't seen Waterworth quite yet this year explode the passing game. He was really good last year for them out there, and the Meaford kid as well. Another little passing attack they have for Wellington. For LeBlond, the Idaker kid has been their go-to receiver this year, but I think Cole Segrist is kind of their most talented receiver they have out there. So they have a couple of guys on the outside who can also scoot a little bit and can do some nice games, nice things out in space. So it's one of those deals where these two teams, and both maybe a little undersized up front in certain spots, but play kind of above their skis up front a little bit. So I think they're kind of carbon copies of each other. I will go with LeBlond in a very close, fun football game. I think it's going to be a little bit high scoring. You look at two teams that, other than Pattonsburg, are your top 2 passing attacks so far this year. Pattonsburg's won about 300 yards a game. These are both about 240, 230 yards per game in the air. So two teams that are very efficient, and both quarterbacks, I think, coming in with complete control of the offense, and both a lot of confidence in their play right now. And both pocket passers, Tabor for LeBlond, Hampton for Wellington Napoleon, both guys who are going to stay in the pocket, going to make nice throws, can both go in like a moving pocket on here. They're not really huge threats to scramble for extra yardage on there. That's not really either one of theirs kind of main part of their game. Both really good pocket passers on there. So I think it's going to be a really fun football game. I'll give the slight edge to LeBlond, but I think this is a coin flip game back and forth, and I'm really excited to see how it plays out. Field position, turnovers could definitely swing this game either way for either one of these teams, but should be a lot of fun between Wellnap and LeBlond. Okay, so made our official picks there, and again, last week, Anthony and I both went 17-5. Coach Dean went 17-4. This week, I think we agreed quite a bit. The only 2 games we all have apart. Coach Dean and I are just going to tie ourselves to each other's wagons here. Had all the same picks on there. Anthony went with Wellington over LeBlond, and Cornerstone over Northland Christian was our only 2 disagreements. So a lot of agreement this week. Again, not a great week of games in week 3. Not a whole lot of games where you're like, it's like back and forth toss-up games, or like 3 or 4 handful that you can kind of talk yourself into. So hopefully next week will be a little more entertaining in the picks column, I think, going forward.
This is the week that teams really kind of start figuring out their identity and deciding who they want to be after they get kind of through this first third of the year. So we're going to really kind of start to see teams settle into where they want to be and who they want to be.
Yeah, because all the coaches have a plan coming out of the summer into the season, how we want to look on there, and then the actual games happen. Okay, what adjustments do we need to make with our kids here? Hey, this kid, we thought he could handle this. He can't quite handle this role on there. We got to adjust his role. Or, hey, this kid's doing a lot more than we expected. We could actually give him a little bit more. So there's a kind of a nice little give and take there that coaches have to deal with after 2 games of actual game film and more evaluation in real game settings, because there's only so much you can do at team camps and other things on there. You can get some looks on there, but you can't tell how a kid's going to actually act in a game where you have swings of emotion and ups and downs. It's hard to kind of see what a kid's actually going to be like in an actual game until those things actually start happening in a real game. So should be a lot of fun. And Anthony, you're not quite sure where you're going yet this week?
Not sure yet. See where the wind takes me.
Yep, I will, of course, be going to Wellington versus LeBlond. Next week, I will be going to Concordia at Lincoln to get first look at Lincoln, go down there to see their turf football field. Should be a lot of fun to see.
You just completely cut off the north, haven't you?
I have right now. There hasn't been a whole, besides that week 1 game of Worth County, Rockport, there hasn't been a lot of games that have enticed me up north. It's maybe way to go up there. especially because Albany TV does all their games up there too. So I always kind of think there's always a northern broadcast out there that's really good. And shout out to Albany TV as well. They put out a really good highlight package to the Nottoway Valley Albany game that they didn't really have to do after the way that game went. They did a good job of putting that highlight film out there, trying to give everyone a kind of look to see. It was like 5-6 minutes long too, with all the touchdowns and big plays there. So that was really impressive from them, and hopefully make it up north to one of these games here soon, and get north. But we'll see. Anything else you guys have to say to the people on here before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just want to thank the 8-man community for reaching out to me with my dad passing. People I don't even know, coaches of other teams. There's just really been an outpouring of support, and appreciative of that, because, we're competitors, but we're all still people. And as a coach has coached both 11-man and 8-man. That's what I love about 8-man is the community aspect of it. So thank you to the 8-man community.
Absolutely. I've heard that other coaches say this too. I feel like 8-man does a better job of lifting each other up, because we know we're all in kind of the smallest boat possible on there, when sometimes the 11-man coaches are a little bit more snippy at each other, because it's just such a little more cutthroat the higher you get in the 11-man ranks on there. I think the 8-man community does a good job of like, hey, we're all kind of in the same boat down here. Let's not tear each other down, because we're all trying to build up these little small towns, and these communities, all their football teams are trying to get everything where it needs to be. So again, good luck to everybody this Friday. Thank you everyone who shared the media poll out, again sponsored by Rain Physical Therapy. We appreciate you guys for looking at that. We're going to try to post the stat leaders first thing Friday morning. I try to get those out as early as I can Friday, because I know with the cell phone ban across the state of Missouri, I want to make sure these kids have a chance to see it before they go to school in the morning, because a lot of these kids can't be on their phones anymore. Though every once in a while I do see a kid liking or sharing something. I'm like, it's 10:30. I know you're in school right now. I ain't gonna snitch on you though. So appreciate the like and the retweets during school hours. I appreciate it. I love the hustle there for you guys. So appreciate you guys. Everyone have a good week and stay healthy on Friday.